Welcome everybody to the Pittsburgh Pirates franchise here on MLB The Show 20. As today we have part 4 here of the long-term simulation. Obviously I originally was only planning on having 2 or 3 episodes of a long-term sim, but you guys are really enjoying these and I'm having a ton of fun making them, so we're going to keep doing it until all of the relevant players from the series retire, which if I were to guess, would probably mean we're going to have 3 more episodes left, including this one. Today we'll be covering seasons 15 through 17. Last episode, obviously we had to make a tough decision. Specifically, last season at the trade deadline, we sent Patrick Magana to Washington. He was a big piece of a World Series team in Season 5 and the other World Series teams in the sim. Antoine Herrera was traded to the Rockies. I'm pretty sure he was part of the Travis Swaggerty trade a number of years back, very early in the long-term sim, and that really worked out for us big time. We've got some early tough financial decisions to make with guys like Santiago Osuna and Pablo Cairo only having 1 more year left on their contract. And then guys like Cy Muser, Wander Franco, they don't have a lot of time left either. O'Neal Cruz is 35 years old. He is still ridiculously good, but he has 5 more years left on his deal. Remember, I did not give him that super long contract. The game did. And now that's really going to bite us in the butt. So thank you, MLB The Show, for really doing us a solid right there. We don't have any big-time free agents this offseason. Remember, we did trade for Adonis Medina last episode. We brought him back. He was a big piece of the Season 5 championship squad. We sent him to Washington, and then we actually got him back a number of years later, but I don't think we're going to be bringing him back. Francisco Mejia and Benny Lane have both regressed massively, and they are just not starting caliber players. They're not asking for really a ton of money anymore. I think they're only asking for $520,000 per season. So we're just pretty much giving these 2 legacy contracts. They've been such a big piece of our core throughout the series, and I want them to retire as Pittsburgh Pirates, but I mean, they're just not playable for the most part anymore. The free agency class is very good, but again, we don't have a ton of money to spend considering we're the Pittsburgh Pirates, and we already have a lot of money tied up. Plus, with Osuna and Cairo being free agents next year, I want to have that financial flexibility. No Patrick Magana in free agency. As you can see, the Nationals have signed him to a big contract extension, so good for them. I feel like we fleeced Washington at the deadline, but they brought him back, so at least it's not like we fleeced them for 2 months of Patrick Magana. The White Sox signed Julio Rodriguez. Julio Rodriguez is a machine in this game, so the White Sox are getting themselves an absolute stud. Other than that, not a whole lot to talk about here. Nolan Gorman rejoining our division as he is now a Cincinnati Red. The Reds have quietly built up a pretty solid core these past few seasons. They've gotten a bunch of top prospects who've obviously we've stolen away, but I mean they still have a pretty good core for the most part. Other than that, not a super exciting free agency period. Brad Kinsey, an 88 overall, signs for 5 years, $6 million. I think he was on the Yankees, and the Yankees let him go, but he only had like a year of service time so far. Kinsey used to be part of our organization as well, which I guess is interesting. Rule 5 draft, probably not going to pick anybody here, so now we're going to simulate pretty much to the end of the offseason. Yordan Alvarez traded to the Cubs. That scares me because Yordan Alvarez has like 600 career home runs. I mean, he's one of the best hitters of all time. Travis Swaggerty signed with the Rays earlier. And I want to talk about William Ishikawa real quick. A Rule 5 draft pick from a few years ago. He's developed very well, but he's a free agent at the end of the season, and he's just not an everyday player. So we're going to send him to the Mets for 2 very solid prospects. I think that's a good trade for us. Now, I want to re-sign Santiago Osuna and Pablo Cairo now. Osuna will be getting a 3-year extension for $93 million. Cairo will be getting a 3-year extension for $76 million. Cairo's not asking for overly too much because he's getting older. He's getting a little bit worse. He's still in the mid-90s, but instead of asking for like $30 million, he wants $25. We do have some big free agents upcoming, including Kenny Waldron, who I do probably plan on trading sometime this year. We have a lot of good young starting pitchers who are going to be ready. Pretty much the same starters as last year for the most part. I actually simulated the first 4 regular season games because I wanted to wait until everybody was healthy. We had a few small injuries in spring training. Of course, we went 0-4 in this span, so not really a great start to the year. But yeah, Ben Encarnacion now at the big leagues. Mohamed Lunsford is a starting caliber pitcher, so that kind of makes Kenny Waldron the odd man out. At draft day, we are 29-26. We're really not playing that well. We've done better in May, but the team really is just not producing for the most part. We had a solid draft, 2 high B potential players late in Johnny Hopper and Tommy Lowe, but we're currently 3rd in the division, and we're going to make some changes to the starting rotation. Kenny Waldron is outplaying Ben Encarnacion, so we're going to make that switch. Nobody on our team is first for the All-Star voting, but William Ishikawa is first among shortstops. At the All-Star break, we are 54-41. We're 3rd in the division. We are projected to make the playoffs, but we're just not having a great season for our standards. We've won 12 straight division titles. The record is 14 in a row, so I really want to break that record. That would imply that we would have to win the next 3 division titles, which I don't think is totally impossible. Looking at our All-Stars, we have Rob Hills, Alberto Estrada, first-time All-Star, Wander Franco, Cy Muser. All third basemen who made the All-Star team were in our organization. I think at one point, probably all at the same time, too. And then Miguel Cordero makes it as the starting right fielder. That's pretty exciting. We do have some bad news on the injury front, though. Vinny Sanchez broke his foot. That's not good. Vinny Sanchez was really playing well, and I think he's starting to prove to me that he is the long-term first baseman of the future. I don't want to start Benny Linya at first base because he's a 62 overall, so we might have to make a move for a first baseman. But before that, I will be trading Kenny Waldron away now. I just don't see him in our long-term plans. We're going to be trading him and a really good outfield prospect, Tom Yang, to the Padres for Brad Kinsey and Robert Story. Brad Kinsey's having a really good season, but the main reason why I want him is he is locked up for the next 5 years, and he will be making no more than $2 million. So I think this is a no-brainer. We're getting a high-level outfielder for the next 5 seasons who's going to be cheap. And I think that's the key thing. Obviously, with all the money we have tied up, this is a cheap player who we can continue to build around. We're going to be trading Robbie Cortez and 2 pretty solid prospects. Cortez is also a free agent at the end of the season, and I just don't want to pay him. We're getting a really, really good pitching prospect from the Oakland A's. His name is Devin Bridges, 18 years old, 73 overall, with 99 potential. Yeah, he's really good. The A's are kind of dumb, but hey, look, I'm not going to complain. So we still don't have a first baseman, but we do have an extra outfielder with the addition of Brad Kinsey. So what we're going to do is Cy Muser will move back to third base, and Adam Deaton will learn how to play first base. I know you can't magically teach them overnight, but you can in MLB The Show. So Kinsey will now be playing center. Cairo, I guess, will be moving to left. Cy Muser back to third, and Adam Deaton to first. The pitching looks a little bit different with no more Kenny Waldron and Robbie Cortez. Manny Feliciano will be the long reliever, and the starting rotation will be Osuna, Richie, Gonzalez, Lunsford, and Encarnacion. We called a couple of relievers up, including Mark Brentler, who will be making his MLB debut. So we're going to simulate to about the start of September. We are currently 61-43 at the moment, and we are 3rd in the division. We're simming to September because I want to keep it suspenseful, because it's going to be a very close division race. So we're playing really well now. We're 79-54. We're only half a game out of first place. We've gotten hammered with injuries, though. O'Neal Cruz and Cy Muser both supposed to miss probably the rest of the regular season. So we're having some of the young guys like Albert Cairo and Adam Rivera, who have never really started before, as huge pieces who need to perform well. So we're going to simulate pretty much to the end of the season, and I'm going to do a live simulation here because this is certainly exciting stuff, certainly pressure. We do want to win this division, and we're in a very close race with the St. Louis Cardinals, and we're playing really well here down the stretch of the season. Now 89-59, and look, we are 3 games ahead of the Cubs for first place. The Cardinals are now 4.5 games back, so we're in the driver's seat now for the division. Vinny Sanchez is back from injury, which is very good news. The Curve won the AA championship, so I guess that's fun. Here we are at the final regular season series of the year, 95-65. We are 1 game ahead of the Chicago Cubs in the division, and O'Neal Cruz is back at a very good time. So here we go. We win the first 2 games, but so do the Cubs. Then we lose this final game, but we still win the division. The Cubs lost their final regular season game, so we squeak in as division winners by a hair. 13 straight NL Central titles. We are 1 away from tying the record, 2 away from breaking it. Here's a look at the final regular season stats. Oneil Cruz statistically regressed this year. He did miss about a month of action, so his numbers are going to be a little bit lower, but I mean, he is starting to get worse. He's now only a 94 overall, and that's with him being super happy. I think he's only like a 90 overall in true talent. Santiago Osuna has been probably the best pitcher in baseball the past like 5 years. That has not changed this year. And then the bullpen, for the most part, did a very good job, especially the back end. Iguchi and Hills were nearly flawless. So here we go. The Cardinals beat the Cubs in a wild card game, so we're going to be playing St. Louis. 3 teams in our division at over 90 wins, which is wild. We split the first 2 games. We win Game 3. Cy Muser is healthy. And we win Game 4, so we will be advancing to the NLCS to play the Phillies. Doing very well so far, and we sweep them. So we are in the World Series. This season looked like an absolute disaster at the start of June. Now we're in the World Series. We finished with the best record in baseball, by the way. I have no clue how that happened. We're playing the Twins, who are not very good. They have 1 healthy player over 90 overall. Their best player, Brian Startup, is injured. Here's Gaylord Dixon, former Pirate. He's been really good for them, but this Twins team does not scare me at all. So we should really win this series. We take the first 2 games, we win Game 3, and we sweep them. The Pirates win the World Series for the 5th time in this series, 3rd time in the past 4 seasons. Wander Franco, postseason MVP. Vinny Sanchez with a great postseason run. Oneil Cruz was great. Cruz won the World Series MVP, so this season looked like an absolute mess at one point, but we're the World Series champs again. Also, I didn't show Cy Muser's stats at the end of a regular season because he was hurt, so there you go. Now on to the offseason. We have nobody from our team retiring, so Francisco Mejia and everyone else who's old will be sticking around for an extra year. Mejia and Ling are our only free agents, and again, I'm just going to be signing them to legacy contracts, but I want it to be as cheap as possible. So they're probably both going to still be on the Major League roster, but they're just not big contributors anymore. Again, the free agency class is really good, but we just don't have the money to spend. And I think at this stage, with how the budget is, we're only making $13K per week, and that doesn't include the guys who will be making arbitration. So we're going to be in serious debt. So we're going to have to make some tough decisions, maybe trade away one of our super expensive players. Here's a look at all of the signings. Heliot Ramos has been really good with the Giants. He is sticking in California with the Angels. William Ishikawa signs a $107 million deal with the Yankees, so he'll be staying in New York, but switching teams. Manuel Medrano, former member of our organization. He is a Cardinal. Medrano certainly was a late bloomer, but he's developed very nicely in his Major League career. Now we're in debt, making negative $73K per week, and that still doesn't include the arbitration players. So I think we have to trade one of these 5 big-time contracts. Osuna, Muser, Franco, Cairo, and Cruz. And the one who's regressed the most is Wander Franco. He is an 88 overall, only an 84 in actual talent. He's been very good for us for the past 12 seasons. He's hit over 300 every season except as a rookie. But it does look like his power is really starting to go. He still has 2 years left on his contract, and he's not going to be getting any better. So maybe trading Wander Franco away might be a move we have to make. I don't want to do it now, though, because I want to get cheap prospects for him, and we can't really do that because not a lot of them are under contract. Now we're about $2 million in debt if you count the arbitration players. So I put Wander Franco and a couple guys in the trade finder for prospects. We only got one offer, and it was from the Brewers. And I was super tempted by it, but I just cannot send Wander Franco to the Brewers. I do have a trade for Wander. It's not with Milwaukee. It's with a different team. But first, we just have to appreciate this man. He has won 5 World Series titles for our team. He's been such an important part of this organization, and I will make sure he retires as a Pirate just once he's cheap and not good anymore, because I still want him to play. I want him to potentially get 3,000 hits and become a Hall of Famer. So the big piece we're getting is Ronald Aguilera, another super good catching prospect. He's the number 1 prospect in baseball. He has around 98 potential, so that's why I really wanted him. Franco will now be the starting second baseman of the New York Mets. That feels weird to say. So entering this season, Rob Hills is a free agent. I would like to extend him. He's been very good for us these past 2 seasons. But I don't want to do it now. I want to go to the trade deadline and just make sure it's something I want to do. Adam Deaton will now be learning how to play second base with no more Wander Franco. That just feels weird, not having Wander anymore. The pitching, for the most part, is the same. The team as a whole is pretty much the exact same. However, the only big difference, obviously, being the loss of Wander Franco. So we will be simulating to draft day. Hopefully, we start off this season better than last year. But, I mean, if we start 0-60 and win the World Series, it's fine. So we're 37-23, half a game ahead of the Reds for first place in the division. And I want to talk about O'Neal Cruz. He has been really bad this year. He's hitting .217. And, I mean, he is really starting to regress hard. Pablo Cairo, by the way, he is cooking. So that's good to see. He really is not regressing, even though he's 31. So, that's good. And he usually starts seasons off really slow. So it's refreshing to see Pablo Cairo doing well the first 2 months of the year, because he usually doesn't. Santiago Osuna, by the way, look at those numbers. 1.53 ERA, .78 whip. He has not taken a step down in his career. Looking here at the draft, we didn't do as well as we did last year, but still pretty solid. We got a couple good relievers, and Peter Pruitt and Giovanni Kobayashi. So now we're going to be simulating the All-Star break. Look at Manuel Medrano against us. 5 for 5, 2 dingers. But yeah, let's go to the All-Star break. Hopefully we're still doing well, and we are. 65-31. We are all of a sudden 9 games ahead of the Cubs and Reds for first place in the division. Santiago Osuna is the starting pitcher in the National League. He doesn't even have the best ERA in the NL, which is a surprise. Mohamed Lunsford is an All-Star. That's cool. Rob Hills makes another All-Star team. Alberto Estrada is back. There's Tom Hu, former member of our organization. Wander Franco is still an All-Star with the Mets. He's hitting .321, but his power is pretty much completely gone. And then Pablo Cairo back in the All-Star game. His average has taken a dip in the month of June, but still good to see him in the All-Star game. So at the trade deadline, we are now 74-32. We've been incredible this season. And I've made my decision on Rob Hills. We're going to pay the man his money. He's been super consistent for us. We're going to give him 2 years, $20 million. I think that's the same contract we gave him last time, and he accepts. So O'Neal Cruz is doing a little bit better. He's now hitting .218. I'm not going to trade Cruz now. I'm actually not going to make any trades now. We don't have any big-time free agents. Next year is really where we're going to have to make some tough decisions. So we finished 115-47. Yeah, we were pretty damn good in the regular season. We won the division by 25 games. Here's a look at the final stats. Alberto Estrada had a career year. O'Neal Cruz got the average up to .246. Really, everybody did well except for Miguel Quevedo. He hit for good power, but he only hit .229. Santiago Osuna was ridiculous. Sub-1 whip, sub-2 ERA. Mohamed Lunsford also had a really good year. And then the bullpen, again, flawless for the most part, which is great to see. So Mohamed Lunsford finished second for NL MVP, and he won the Cy Young. Lunsford wasn't even our best pitcher. I mean, he was great this year, but can we stop the Santiago Osuna disrespect for once? We're struggling here in the NLDS against the Reds. Game 5, and we lose. So, no back-to-back World Series titles, unfortunately. The Braves end up winning the World Series. So, for Season 1, we sucked for our standards in the regular season. Won the World Series. Season 2, dominated in the regular season. Lost in the NLDS. No retirements again. Francisco Mejia is now 40, and he's still sticking around. So entering the offseason, we still have some more tough decisions to make. Cy Muser's a free agent next year. And trading O'Neal Cruz might be something we have to do. He's going to be making $100 million over the next 3 years. And he's just not the same player he once was. He's 37 now. He's still a starting caliber shortstop. But he's not worthy of $100 million over the next 3 years. So we may have to move on from him in the offseason, which sucks. Just looking at his career numbers, he's been an all-time great for us. But we're not going to do that yet. We do have a few small decisions to make in free agency. Leonard Iguchi I wanted to bring back, but we have enough talent in the bullpen. We don't need him. And I'm not going to offer Mejia or Ling right now, and I kind of wish I did here, but I didn't. In the free agency period, we do have a little bit of money to spend, but of course, this is the one time the free agency class is not any good. There wasn't really anybody I wanted in here, so I did not end up spending. Looking back, I'm happy I didn't spend because I mean, we just aren't in the financial situation to do so. Even though we don't have as much money tied up with Wander Franco gone, I still think it was a smart idea for me not to splurge the bank account and go after some of these big-name players. Looks like our division's been pretty busy for the most part. Reds signed a good reliever. Brewers have been making moves. Cardinals always seem to be making moves. Heliot Ramos to the Twins. Royce Lewis is a Met. He's been with the Tigers this whole series. Detroit traded for him in year 1, and he's been there the entire time. So Royce Lewis and Wander Franco is now the middle infield for the Mets. Fortunately, we don't have enough money to sign anybody. Iguchi and Mejia are still free agents, but the Marlins signed Benny Lang. I don't know why they want a 54 overall Benny Lang, so I'm not letting him retire as a Miami Marlin. That's just not happening. So we're going to trade 3 prospects I don't really care about in exchange for Lang. And we still can't sign Mejia, so he's just going to, I guess, rot in free agency for the next year until he retires, which does make me kind of sad. We're still over the budget, even though Wander Franco's gone. Cy Muser's a free agent next year. He's 33, so that means he's going to start to regress. And based on what I've seen with like the Wander Franco contract, for example, I can't be offering him a multi-year deal. If I extend him, it'll be for 1 year. I decided not to trade O'Neal Cruz in the offseason. I'm going to give him one more shot. I still don't think he's going to play out his contract for us unless he goes back to MVP form O'Neal Cruz. We will be making a small trade here with Mejia, I guess not on the team anymore. We're going to need a new backup catcher, so we do that. And then Frank Majam, a reliever. He's been here for a while, but I just don't really have a spot for him. Going to send him to the Dodgers for a couple prospects. So here's a look at the lineup. The starting lineup has really not changed in this episode other than no more Wander Franco. Next episode, though, I think there's going to be a lot of big changes, and there's going to be a lot of big changes this offseason because we have a bunch of big-time free agents. The pitching rotation, same as last year, but bullpen pretty much the same as last year, but this is really the first pressure point of today's episode because we have a lot of big decisions to make in the budget. I'll talk about those when we get closer to the trade deadline with multiple valuable starters as free agents. So at draft day, we are 40-22, and usually the draft goes 6 rounds. This time, we could not get out of the 5th round because there were too many competitive balance rounds that there weren't enough players to get drafted. We had a pretty good draft for the most part, nothing crazy. We got a few good relief pitching prospects. So now we're going to simulate to the All-Star break. Alberto Estrada and Brad Kinsey are both first for their divisions. You love to see it. And we are 68-29. We went 28-7 in the span of draft day to the All-Star break. Santiago Osuna, the starting pitcher for the NL. Rob Hills makes it. No Alberto Estrada, though. That's a little bit surprising. Cy Muser makes it. That's good to see. A bunch of our former players at shortstop, and Manuel Medrano and Bo Bichette. And then in the outfield, both Pablo Cairo and Brad Kinsey makes it. Kinsey is currently the favorite for NL MVP, and Santiago Osuna is currently the favorite for NL Cy Young with Jonathan Ritchie also in the mix. Also, a little farm system update. We had the top 3 prospects in baseball. We have 5 at the top 11. Yeah, our farm system has been loaded really this entire long-term sim. We're now 77-33 at the deadline. The Cardinals are really good, but we are still going to win this division pretty easily. But we have Cy Muser, Scott Bradford, Miguel Quevedo, and Manny Feliciano all as free agents, and I cannot pay all 4 of them. Scott Bradford and Manny Feliciano are both really good relievers. I'm really only willing to pay one of them. The big difference here is Feliciano wants 9.5, Bradford wants 13, and Bradford's only 1 year younger. Scott Bradford is better, but not by really that much, so we're going to be trading him to the Indians for a really good relief prospect in Donnie McDermott and another A potential prospect. Scott Bradford is an absolute stud, and he makes me kind of regret paying Rob Hills, but we kind of have to trade him since Hills is under contract. And then Miguel Quevedo, he's been a key starter for us the past 5 or 6 years, but he is a free agent, and I don't really want to pay him. So we're going to be trading him to our division rival Cubs for 2 very good prospects, including outfielder Leonardo Chavez, who is, I think, the 4th ranked prospect in baseball. So now we have the top 4 guys. And then Cy Muser will be back on a 1-year deal. Manny Feliciano will also be brought back on a 1-year deal. I'm only giving you guys 1 year because we have so many free agents after next season. We don't really have any tough decisions this upcoming offseason, which will be the first offseason next episode. But outside of Cruz and Kinsey, nobody else is under contract. Muser, Ritchie, Cairo, Osuna, Feliciano, Deaton, Lunsford, Hills, Montoya. all free agents after season 18, which is the first season next year. So next episode, season 1, we have a lot of tough financial decisions to make. With Quevedo gone, Deaton will return to third, Muser will go to the outfield, and Bernie Rayburn will now be the everyday second baseman. Manny Feliciano will stay as the line reliever. I don't want him to be the line reliever next year, but since we don't have anybody else for that position, that's where he will be. Gonna simulate to the end of the season, and if we win the division, we break the record. And as you can see, 105-57, we have broken the record for most division titles won in a row in MLB history with 15 in a row. The Braves had 14 in a row throughout the 90s and early 2000s, but we've won the NL Central 15 straight times. Absolutely incredible stuff. Looking at the numbers, everybody was really good. Oneil Cruz was a little bit better. He hit 277, 23 home runs. I really have no clue what we're going to do with Cruz this offseason. But next offseason, with all those free agents, I don't really think we're going to keep him. Benny Lane is now a 48 overall. He is not going to be on the Major League roster next year. I'm sorry. The only thing is he has 299 career home runs. I want him to get to 300, but I can't have a 48 overall player on the roster. The bullpen was kind of sloppy towards the end of the year. Osuna played a little bit worse, but still good stuff nonetheless. So we play the Cardinals here in the first round, and we're currently tied at 1. We lose Game 3. We win Game 4. So another Game 5 and another NLDS loss. Oof. Ben Encarnacion pitched both Games 5s for us, and he lost them both. The Mariners end up winning the World Series. So that will conclude today's episode. We kept the core pretty much intact, other than Wander Franco, but we have a lot of tough decisions to make next year. We have a lot of older players who could be nearing retirement. Oneil Cruz is still a starting caliber player, but he's now only an 83 overall. So next season's going to be a big one, and we're going to trade some players away who we're not going to want to trade away, like maybe Oneil Cruz. And we'll see some other guys who could go next episode. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. I'm out. Peace.